Welcome to Peachtree Injury Talk with attorney Jordan Jewkes.
Welcome to Peachtree Injury Talk with Jordan Jewkes. Jordan strives to give injured victims a voice and provide strong advocacy against an often broken system. My name is John Clements, and today's episode is When the Other Driver Lies, Navigating Disputed Liability Claims. So first of all, Jordan, hey, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, John. I always love coming on here, and I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to get into the questions, so let's start. So the first question, what happens when the at-fault driver gives a completely different version of the accident than maybe what someone else says?
Yeah, hey, that's a great place to start, John. And unfortunately, the at-fault driver, that's a very common occurrence is when they get out of the car, they admit something to the person they just struck, but when the police officer arrives, the at-fault driver says, it wasn't my fault. I had the green light and that guy had the red light or whatever it was, and they make up or fabricate a story that has nothing to do with reality at the scene. And so that can sort of throw a wrench in things. It can make the police officer write things on the report because he's not sure what the truth is, and it can generally make the process a little more difficult. And someone who has a few minutes to think about that may lie at the scene to try and get away from, having their insurance pay for the injury to the person he hit. So yeah, it can make things tougher, unfortunately.
Yeah, is it always a case of straight up lying, or could it just be telling things in a way that make you look a little better than maybe another person might tell them?
Sure, yeah, and there are a lot of studies. There's actually a Japanese film that is focused really on this effect, that the idea and really the principle that for 3 or 4 or 5 different people can see the exact same series of events, the exact same car wreck, and report different factual findings on it. I mean, that's a pretty common thing, and if you believe the Bible. And read the Bible, the 4 Gospels are allegedly written by 4 different people who were around Jesus the whole time. And they all write different things. And so it's fairly common for different people to see the same set of facts and report it differently. But what often happens is someone who causes a wreck tries to really, I guess maybe it's a human thing, but they want to diminish their responsibility for causing injury to someone else. And so it's almost maybe a natural response in some instances, but very often it's, hey, they convince themselves or they tell themselves that, hey, I didn't really run that red light. It was yellow when I went through it, when in reality it was red and they were speeding through it or something. So
yeah. So let me ask you this then. I agree with you that it's pretty common for people to remember things differently, or maybe tell their story in a way that puts them in a good light. That's maybe a little bit different than flat out a disputed liability case. So for those cases, how do you handle it when there is truly a dispute?
Yeah, if there truly is a dispute, you've got to go outside what the 2 drivers say about what happens, because, and this actually happens pretty often, John, like 2 cars will be traveling to the same intersection, and one of them has the green light and one of them has the red light, but as they travel through it, the lights change or something happens and they genuinely aren't sure, or it's pretty it's just a close call. So what you have to do, obviously, is look for witnesses. And then if there are any businesses nearby, try and pull the video camera from those businesses. And sometimes, increasingly more often, cars are equipped with dash cams or actually video cameras within the vehicle itself. Like Tesla has videos on every car they put out now. And so hopefully someone who saw it will stop and provide their eyewitness account, or at least share a video from their vehicle about what happened. So again, if someone has, if there's a genuine dispute about what happened, you got to go to outside sources, witnesses, video camera, to figure out the truth and what really happened.
Yeah, and so I do have a question about that. How do I go about collecting that information? Is that something I have to work with you to do? Can I do it myself? Like, what does that look like?
Well, anyone is capable of doing it, I suppose. We have found, and I think part of the problem is when someone gets in a wreck, they're very often too injured to do a whole lot of investigative, work at the scene. They're waiting for an ambulance to arrive. They've got a serious medical condition that needs emergency treatment. and no one would expect them to really start talking to witnesses or, looking at the different businesses around to see if there's extra cameras that may have caught what happened. So what I try and tell people is the sooner you can talk to an attorney, someone who knows what they're doing, they can get that investigative ball rolling. They can get that process started. And this actually happened in one of our cases recently where a client was struck by another vehicle as he passed through an intersection. And of course, the other vehicle claimed that they had the green light and that my client had tried to turn in a red light. And so we immediately sent out a private investigator to go talk to all the business owners and try and collect some video footage from the local business owners that had video or cameras facing that intersection where the wreck happened, so that we could actually collect real evidence, documentary evidence, firsthand evidence of what happened. And in that particular instance, it was very, very helpful to see what happened.
Yeah, and so talk to me a little bit about the timing on that, because it's my understanding that, these security cameras that businesses have, they tape over the previous tape. And of course, the further from an event you get, the hazier it is in your mind. So what is is time of the essence in a case like this?
Yeah, John, you're exactly right. I mean, it's one of those things where every day that goes by, it becomes less likely that data or that video will be properly preserved. And so that's why we normally would send out a private investigator, someone that will just go knock on the door or talk to the clerk on duty at the business where we think that there's a camera facing the intersection, and we will say, hey, you may have seen this terrible wreck that happened earlier today or yesterday. Can you please do everything you can? Or we'll confirm whether they have video or not, or that they have videos that are actively working and recording. Then we'll say to them, hey, yes, we really would like for you to be able to preserve this. And then we'll always follow that up with a written letter that can be, shown, hey, we actually sent this to you. But technology is constantly improving with videos. And so certainly, yeah, back in the day, John, I mean, even, 5, 10, 15 years ago, cameras at convenience stores were on a loop. And so once that new loop started, whatever was on it in the past was recorded over. And even with current data, where people have record just terabytes of data in there, even some of those will start to record after, but a lot of those will last longer. So I would like to say, when I first started practicing law, it was, oftentimes things would be looped over, as we would say, within about 30 days. But now I think you have maybe a little bit more time because so many cameras record digitally and can be stored online. And very often that cloud service will be able to pull down that data. But still, you want to try and get to it as soon as possible because you never know what technology they have. And I've heard of some just looping in 5 days. And so the sooner the better that you can capture those what you hope is video footage, or at least camera footage of what happened.
Yeah, and I assume it probably depends on the technology level of the business owner or the homeowner
Sure.
as to what they have. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
you
you'd be
ever have to-
shocked.
yeah,
I was going to say, you'd be shocked at how many business owners are out there that have cameras set up that actually don't record. and some of them just have some live feed for the clerk on duty or whatever to see who's walking in or something like that. But a lot of them have video cameras set up that actually aren't even powered and have no live recording, and certainly no recorded recordings at all. So yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, for real. So I was curious, do you ever have to go contact one of the big, doorbell manufacturers and say, hey, can we get this data from your cloud? Is that something you would have to do?
We've tried it. Yeah, I mean, all sorts of things that you can try and do. Yes. Another thing, though, that you bring up that's a good point is like Ring Central or some of these motion video cameras on residential doors, like your neighbor may have, or you may have a Ring camera on your front door that is motion activated. And sometimes there's a car wreck in your neighborhood, in your own subdivision, and there's a dispute. Sometimes someone is pulling out of a driveway and they hit a passing car, or a passing car hits them. very often those are actually recorded on these front door video cameras, and you've got great footage of this wreck that just happened. And so, yeah, you got to go, if that happens in a neighborhood or in an area that has a lot of video cameras, yeah, the sooner you go out, you can sometimes get really lucky and capture some really good footage and maybe catch the other driver in a lie about whose fault it was.
Yeah, or if you're in my neighborhood, you can catch, footage of the bears or the coyotes or whatever at 4 a.m. too. Not as legally helpful, but still interesting.
Yeah, and of course, people put those in, I think, probably to alert them if someone's coming to the door, but also for, safety reasons with crimes and things. But a lot of accidents, car accidents, have been recorded on doorbell cameras.
Yeah, I can imagine. So let's shift gears a little bit. I'd love to talk about the technology for the whole hour, but shifting gears, what happens when you are in a position where you've got a client, you're representing them, and the facts are contested? So what are some tools at your disposal to protect their story?
Yeah, and so there are several tools out there, but any client that comes in that talks to me, will take pretty good notes about what happened, and I'll usually ask them to at least write down what happened so that their memory is fresh. And anytime, I also tell everyone that whenever you have a conversation with an insurance company, usually the adjuster, you've got to assume that conversation is going to be recorded. And I would say most of the time it is. And very often the insurance companies are alerted to a wreck and start that investigative process much sooner than the attorneys do. And sometimes you get in a wreck and you say, well, I'm not sure I want to hire an attorney. I want to try and resolve this with the insurance company. And so you give a statement to that insurance company, and maybe the insurance company then goes and talks to the witnesses or has their own investigative company go out and do some work. And so honestly, sometimes the insurance company's already done a good bit of research. Sometimes they've talked to the police officer already and done some research. Now, just because they've done that doesn't mean they're going to willingly give that up. And sometimes that alone is reason enough to hire an attorney, is to make the insurance company give it up. But yeah, the insurance company will often has a lot of information at the scene or shortly after the wreck, but also what was said to the police officer at the scene by the drivers or any of the witnesses is often going to be recorded based on a body cam or audio that the police officer is going to have. And most police departments, especially in more populated areas, urban areas, the police officers are going to have recordings of what was said at the scene. And sometimes when you talk to the at-fault driver down the road and he says, well, I had the red light, but then when you go watch and compare what he said months later to what he actually said at the scene, it's much different. And so you can say, well, which one's true? What you telling me now, months after, or what you actually said to the police officer at the scene? And then, of course, like we kind of talked about before, there's a lot of good technology now, especially with newer cars that have recording. And so finding someone or another vehicle at the scene that stopped and is willing to provide that video becomes more and more likely as every day goes by.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like, for you, an attorney, like what you need is the facts. That's what I need. That's the best way I can defend my client, is with the facts.
Yeah, and sometimes that hurts our clients, and they come in and they tell us what they honestly feel was their experience and what happened, and that they had the green light. And then when we go back and look, and we're able to sift the facts from the evidence we collect, we realize, what? The light had actually turned red as you attempted to drive through it. And unfortunately, when you turned in front of that oncoming, vehicle, you had a red light, and that makes it a lot more difficult to win a case when our client ran the red light or was supposed to yield or something like that. So yes, you're exactly right. The facts are what matter. I don't know many attorneys. I'm not one of them that can ignore facts and go win a case at trial. I mean, we rely on the facts, and we often tell folks, you've got to be able to prove the case, and the only way you can really do that is the facts of what happened. So you can't just make facts up out of the air and ask the jury to award a fair verdict on that. You've got to have real facts.
Yeah, I mean, you can try, but I don't think it'll work.
Good luck. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, good luck. Speaking of facts, of course, facts are important. And sometimes when you're in an accident, you may approach the other party, and you might just get this sense that they are maybe not the most truthful individuals, like that gut feeling. So when you have that gut feeling, how should you handle that situation?
I mean, those are tough because, the other driver may be sending signals that they're going to try and flip the script or even blame you for, them rear-ending you. And so I tell people, be careful always what you say at the scene of a wreck. And unfortunately, even if you apologize for the event happening, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wish this hadn't happened. I was on my way to work and now I'm going to be late. Any apology can sometimes be construed by the other party as an admission of fault. And so I tell people, hey, don't apologize. Just be professional. You don't need to explain things to the other party. You need to give a good detailed explanation to the investigating law enforcement officer that arrives, but you don't need to explain things to the other party. And we all have, cameras on our phones these days, and almost all of us drive with our phones somewhere in our car. And if you really think that the other driver is going to try and pull a fast one and flip the script or try and blame you for what happened, get your phone out. Put it in your pocket or your shirt pocket or something, or in your purse, and push record and record the conversation at the wreck, even with the police officer, because anything that other driver says can potentially be used against them. But that goes for you as well. And then finally, take photos. Before you move the vehicles, take some photos. Take photos of the street. Take photos of the surrounding area. Look and see if there's skid marks on the street. If the other driver, hit your vehicle, then take photos of the damage to the vehicle. Because sometimes, where the car is hit and the damage to the vehicle goes a long way to showing, if you're saying he hit you, then why is the damage here in this part of the vehicle? And how did he hit you if the damage is to the front of your vehicle? And, so there's certainly a lot that professionals can glean from damage to the vehicles and the positioning of the vehicles before they're moved from the scene.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of good things. And of course, depends on how badly injured, if at all, you are, because your health is, of course, paramount. Yeah. So, yeah, but do what you can do.
Yeah, and John, that's a great point. If you're getting carted off by the emergency, by the ambulance, taken to the emergency room at the local hospital, it's really hard to have the presence of mind to take any photos, and certainly not to record or write down witness contact information. But maybe you have a family member or a friend that arrives that can do some of that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And then last question for today, and we had to keep it on the quick side, but I do want to ask this question. Have you ever had a case where a lie was exposed in court, and what happened?
Oh yeah, I mean, we kind of live for those days as lawyers, because we feel like we have the righteous truth in every case. We really do. And very often, I wouldn't say very often, but we've had multiple times where the other driver, will say, "Hey, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault," and then we go back and we're able to show, yes, there are just massive inconsistencies with what the other driver is saying. I remember one case we had, it was maybe 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago, where a driver said that our lady, and coming in opposite directions on the same highway, there was a front end collision, and our lady said, "Hey, he came into my lane," and of course he says, "No, she came into my lane." And so we went and looked at his Facebook posts, and he just said some tremendously offensive and very inconsistent things with what he told police officers and what he testified at depositions down the road. And we were able to use his Facebook posts actually to show that he wasn't being as truthful as maybe he wanted you to believe he was. And in the legal world and trials, we call that impeaching him. Where we've impeached his testimony, or his story. And so kind of exposed him as not being 100% honest. And again, that goes to sort of background work and do some investigating work. That would have never happened if we hadn't hunted him down and on Facebook or whatever the social media platform was, and he had made some things that were inconsistent. But yeah, that happens, and we always feel like, yes, we've done our client the righteous work that they deserved when we find results like that.
Oh, yeah. Facebook will get you every time.
Yeah, it will. You got to be real careful with it.
Got to be careful. So, Jordan, time has flown by. I can't believe that we already have to wrap it up for today, but I can't wait to have you on next time. We'll keep talking. So, thanks for being on the show today.
You too. Thanks, John. Always enjoy it.
Absolutely. And for the listeners, thank you for joining us on Peachtree Injury Talk with Jordan Jewkes. To connect with Jordan and his team, visit jewkesfirm.com. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. And until next time, have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.